Hi, everybody. Welcome. I have the pleasure today introducing Nancy Brooker. So Nancy is an advanced accredited EFT practitioner, and she's in Guelph, Canada. And we're going to talk a little bit about her practice. We're going to find out a little bit more about what she's doing and the impact she's having in the world. And I love having these. And this is, of course, my partner, Alina.
Hi, Nancy.
And so we're gonna go ahead and just do a little exploration together. So you want to kick it off?
Yeah. So Nancy, we always start with asking the very fascinating question of how did you first come about this interesting modality that we do called EFT?
Yeah, it's funny. It just kind of fell into my lap, actually. I had heard about it from a friend. I had no idea what she was talking about, this tapping thing. And somehow something ended up in my inbox that was a training for the EFT 1 and 2. And I knew it had to do with stress, and I knew I needed some professional development. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to sign up for that training. So I did. And the timing was impeccable because when the weekend the training was supposed to happen, the weekend before that, my brother got very sick. And he was a type 1 diabetic, had lots of health issues in his life. And that Sunday night before the training, he spiked a high fever, which in most of us, you take some Tylenol, whatever, you don't worry so much about it. But he was also a double transplant recipient. So that actually started, like 4 months worth of just a journey that we went through with him of, worry, stress, life, death, all of these crazy things going on. And my sister and I were health powers of attorney and having to make all of these decisions on his behalf. At one point, he was in a coma and we were making decisions. So, I actually forgot that I had booked that training. And fortunately, that on that weekend, he happened to kind of stabilize a bit. And I was debating, should I go, should I stay? And I ended up deciding to go because I thought I need to do something. And I was 5 minutes from the hospital, so I figured that's okay. And I remember going into the training, and I had my head down. I'd been bawling all week, and I had my hair like around my eyes. I didn't want anyone to see because I was so red. And then we started doing this, weird tapping thing on our faces. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm feeling calmer. And when I finally got up the courage to tell the instructor, what had been going on for me, she actually organized everybody to do some group tapping for my brother and myself and my mom and my dad and my sister. And it was just so beautiful. And by the end of the weekend, we still had a lot going on, but I felt clear and calm. And I don't know, like that whole next 4 months, like, I don't know what I would have done without it. I'm not sure how I would have made it through all of those decisions and all of that stress. And of course it was up and down, but I had my tool and I was able to use it. So it was
How fortuitous, the perfect aligning of those events, given what was going on in your life. And I think about that so often with clients. Like, we have no idea really what they're going through in their life, and then why EFT somehow came to them at any one particular moment in time, how they found it online, somebody that told them. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about your practice. And now that, given the years that you've been doing it, the focus of your practice, who do you most help in your practice?
Yeah. So lately I've been focused, like most recently within the last, say, I don't know, year, I've been focusing on women who are peri and postmenopausal, having, gone through that stage of my life myself and had my own challenges. I just find, it's a time in your life, it's inevitable. We all go through it. And there are so many things going on. We have all these baseline stresses that are happening in our lives, but then that stage when we enter postmenopause, we're also dealing with aging parents, empty nesting. Maybe we're not empty nesting. We're starting to have aches and pains and maybe health diagnoses and things like that. And then that's the next layer, maybe relationship problems, maybe work changes, that sort of thing. And then we pile on these hormonal changes that are happening, right? And we start dealing with these hot flashes and urinary incontinence, like what the heck, right? And the brain fog and the meno-belly, and we're not sleeping, and we're just, we're frustrated, and
Wow.
we start judging ourselves, and it's really a crazy time.
Yeah.
It's a lot, right? And they're all interconnected, and you guys know they'll feed on each other too, right? Like you're not sleeping, you're grumpy, that affects your relationship. And everything kind of gets jumbled together and confused.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you see with your clients that take that journey, or even for yourself? Like, what is, like, you hear the term like the gift of menopause, and
Mm.
what is the opportunity that could be there, or that they actually attain once they go through a healing journey?
Yeah. That's a great question. And that's exactly, sort of flipping the narrative of menopause from all of these things that are happening to us to what we then can do to move forward with it, right? Like it's a time in our life when we should be reevaluating, you know, our life, and, reconnecting to ourselves, and like reconsidering and readjusting, like really looking at what is it that I really want out of this next chapter of my life. I always like to do, in one of our first sessions together, we'll do something called a menopause vision statement. Like, what do I want this next chapter of my life to look
Nice.
like? What's going on? Okay, that's what's going on. What little changes do I want to make so I can be here instead? Because um we can be anything we want to be at this point. And this is the time in our life when we can just go, whoop, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It only matters, myself. What do I need to do for myself and the people around me that are important to me? And
Right.
so that's what we work on, so going from that frustration and that self-judgment that we tend to have at that time in our lives, and moving towards making informed and thoughtful decisions on what comes next and what excites us and where we want this next part to go.
Mhm.
Really good.
And so we might look at, there's foundational things that we might look at, like nutrition, movement, sleep, stress, mindset, relationships, your support system, all of those sorts of things. Because it's really important to be able to mitigate and manage the symptoms too. Um, Sometimes it's hard for people to do that. Maybe you're interested, maybe you want to get some pelvic floor help, but you're scared to talk about it with
Mhm.
anyone,
Mhm.
right? You're scared to go see a therapist. And that's something, finding your voice, finding, what do you want, how do you want to say, what do you want to say, how do you want to approach it? How can I get myself to go and actually get the help I need?
I
Maybe
think
you're
that's a
interested.
really good example. That's just in other words, as the EFT practitioner, you're not helping a particular physical condition. You're not changing incontinence tissues, right? It's not that you're treating them, but you are dealing with all the different stressors and insufficiencies and feelings of overwhelm, and not being able to ask for the help, and not prioritizing yourself to be able to do the things you need to do and take the time to do. And that's that'll stop people dead
Yeah.
in their tracks. Women from
Yeah.
doing what they should be doing for their own self-care because of the
Right.
Yeah.
judgments. And yeah, that's so
Yeah, wouldn't
important.
it be great if there was a magic bullet, something, it could snap our fingers and everything would be better. But it's really it's really about working on our inner selves, on, the things that have, I feel like during our lives we get really good at, putting things into their little places in our lives and sort of hacking how our lives are working. And then once menopause comes, everything kind of blows open, because all the strategies that we had in place before that were more like hacks on, dealing with things that trigger us, dealing with things from our past that we haven't addressed, that leave us feeling, maybe not as confident in ourselves, in our bodies, in our relationships, that sort of things.
Yeah.
Now's the opportunity to really look at, to transform all of that, to look at that. And that's where the EFT, I find, is just so magnificent. It's just so powerful in helping to move through those things.
Yeah, I can see how in a different stage in a woman's life, you're just so, nose to the grindstone. I've got my kids, I've got my career, I've got all of these things that are really taking up so much of my time that I can't really address the limiting beliefs that are still happening on some level, just managing it. And then there's this spaciousness that, if you can see it as a gift and a way, it's like an opportunity to then like find out, okay, what's still there that I need to
Yeah.
like break free of.
Why am I not, doing that thing that I really wanted to do? What's stopping me from doing that? I've always really wanted to. What's going on? Or why is this relationship so triggering to me? And, those sorts of things. Yeah.
I love you saying there's kind of the spacious, I mean, not for everybody, but there's some quality of the spaciousness to kind of revisit and reimagine who I am and what I'm doing and where I'm putting my energy and where I want to and where I've just been doing it, but I don't have to anymore. And I can shed those priorities and create new ones. It's a really powerful, not of a blank slate, but kind of. I mean, there has that quality to kind of recreate, not based on the way I've done it till now, but something different moving forward. And I think that really speaks to the power of that period of time for a woman. Yeah.
I think a lot of times too, it's getting back to the core of who you really are, which we've lost connection with. And that's why I love the whole reconnection piece too, that comes at this part in our life, right? We kind of lost sight. We've had all of these other things that we've been dealing with, and we've lost sight of who we are and what we're really about, and what's important to us.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to hear how people can get in touch with you. And do you work one-on-one? Do you work on Zoom? How is it that people can reach you?
Yeah, so I work one-on-one with people. I can be reached. I have at my website, www.nancybrooker.ca, so easy to remember. And I have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel called Living in Yes, where people can connect. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, and I try and post videos weekly on there. So I would love to connect with anybody that's here. Even just if you have questions or something you were curious about, I would love to hear from anybody who's listening. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today, Nancy.
Yes,
Thank
this
you
was a
for
great
all the work you're
conversation.
doing in Canada and around the world. And it's just been a real privilege to get to know you as a colleague and as a practitioner in so many different ways. Really
Well, I
love
really appreciate you both. Thank you. All right.